We start now.
Is Saransh here? Just for confirmation. Acha, Saransh.
Yeah, I am here.
Kinjal,
Okay.
over to you.
Yeah, the meeting is being live streamed. It will start in 2 minutes.
Okay, we start. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world." It's true, but education is also evolving and changing in these digital times. Today, we are all gathered here to discuss how COVID-19 has established a cycle between mental health and the race for education.
Good afternoon, respected panelists and members of the audience. On behalf of the entire team at My COVID Guide and Aspirant India Initiative, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for taking out time from your busy schedules and joining us here in this panel discussion. Welcome, everyone.
While looking for some coronavirus assets like hospital beds, oxygen supplies for somebody, I discovered this assignment of going to different sites over and over very tedious. Along these lines, I concocted this thought of making a stage with every one of the assets, from dire prerequisites to podcasts to sites to news. Our motto says everything: your health at your fingertips. My COVID Guide has been made to furnish individuals with a single click support with all the coronavirus related assets and data.
Aspirant India Initiative stands by its motto promoting quality education and building perspectives. Started in the year 2017, we at Aspirant India Initiative strive to render a learning platform for a larger section of society by putting a kaleidoscopic range of conventional concepts into perspective with the unconventional apparatus. We aim to go beyond classroom learning and spread knowledge in any way we can. Owing to our purpose, we have organized various events, campaigns, workshops, and much more. In all our endeavors, we aim to help one build perspective and develop their personhood.
So now we would like to introduce our panelists. First, we have with us Mr. Nitin Yadav, founder and director of ALM Academy. The Academy is into coaching and mentoring class 11th and 12th students across Delhi NCR in the field of economics and business studies. Mr. Yadav has been in the education field for over a decade, along with having corporate exposure under his belt. Famous for his jovial nature among students, coming from a defense school, he equally lays emphasis on discipline and ethics. Known for his dancing economics and cartoon business studies, he also likes talking about life and its dimensions. Thank you for joining us, sir. Our next panelist is Dr. Tanuja Kaushik, Director, Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and Dean, Student Welfare and International Relations, GD Goenka University. Ma'am is a true professional with an immense degree of integrity and knowledge. She is a passionate teacher and has more than 2 decades of rich teaching experience in national and international universities and institutes of repute. She is a good team player, sincere and dedicated towards work and responsibility, with a positive attitude towards continuous learning. She won Best Mentor of the Year award in the Senior Leader category at TNGI in Women Achiever Awards 2021. Dr. Kaushik has conducted MDPs for senior level executives with diverse backgrounds from Navratna companies and Mini Ratna companies and other leading organizations as well. She has also conducted several workshops at PhD House, New Delhi, in joint collaboration with Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, Germany, for entrepreneurship development. She is in the editorial and advisory board of journals and has edited preceding books of international conferences and cases on management. Thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our next panelist is Mr. Arinder Mukherjee, National Head, USA UnivQuest. Sir was deeply involved with the MSME sector as a member of various government advisory committees at the state and national level. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Our next panelist is Ms. Alka Singh, who firmly believes in Kautilya's saying, "Don't be afraid of failure and don't abandon it. People who work with integrity are the happiest." Ms. Alka Singh has a deep-rooted commitment to education. Serving as the esteemed school principal of Bluebell School, Gurgaon, she is at the helm of the institution, who is the overall in charge of academic excellence and complete student development. She has a vast experience of 31 years in the field of education and has served in few of the most prestigious educational institutions of the country. A gold medalist in PG Economics, she has a clear vision and attitude, which creates an open environment where parents, teachers, and students feel a part of the school community. She has always guided her team of brilliant teachers to provide the students with cutting-edge technology and a strong foundation in life skills. Ms. Alka Singh is an effective and excellent listener, packed with problem-solving skills at the core. A true visionary, she is well versed with the fact that education is ever evolving. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Our last panelist is Mrs. Nirmal Yadav, founder and president of Colonel Central Academy School, which is amongst the leading schools of Gurgaon. CCA School is a pioneer in many fields, like producing student police cadets, being a national quality circle member of the Delhi chapter, and having the latest teaching aids. She has a science background and holds a master's degree from Allahabad University. Earlier, she taught in convents and Kendriya Vidyalayas across India. She has been the secretary and president of Gurgaon Sahodaya, and their team of principals successfully hosted the 16th National CBSE Sahodaya Conference. During her tenure, the International ACER Conference was also organized by Gurgaon Sahodaya at the behest of CBSE and HRD Ministry. She is also a life member of Indian Red Cross and Child Welfare Council. She conducts training workshops for teachers as well as adolescents education programs for senior students in Gurgaon and adjoining district. She was also awarded the Leadership in Education Award by the Governor of Haryana and was awarded by former Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit for exemplary service in the field of education. Her hobbies include reading, gardening, painting, and poetry writing. Apart from that, ma'am also writes articles of educational interest. Thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nandini.
I would now like to call upon Mr. Priyanshu Grover and Mr. Adarsh Kumar Singh to carry the session forward.
Thank you so much, Saransh. Thank you so much, Nandini. I hope Adarsh is here too. So, in light of that, it's an honor welcoming all the academicians from the field. And it's, again, as I say, an honor to have this panel today and having the discussion on a topic that should finally be discussed. So, Mr. Nitin, Dr. Tanuja, Nirmal ma'am, Arindam sir, Alka ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today. It's, again, as I say for the third time, an honor. So as we start today, how has this entire lockdown and this online education, changed your schedule? Let's talk about students later. Let's talk about how has your schedule changed? Because certainly for us, sleep schedule is messed up, and I think that's for all of us around. I mean, but for people who are of a little elder generation than us, I think. Are you all visionaries able to manage your sleep schedule? Because we aren't. So can you guide us there? How is your sleep schedule, or how has your schedule in general changed due to this lockdown? Let's start with Nirmal ma'am first.
Well, Priyanshu, to be very honest, we are missing school. That is point one. Our regular routine has been disrupted. Though classes have gone very smoothly, teachers have been very sincere. They've taken their lessons. And in fact, each day I see them improving, not only technology-wise, but also in the delivery and making the lessons interesting. Because classroom teaching is definitely different from virtual classroom. However, if you ask me as principals, yes, my routine has been more busier than it is on usual days, because I'm tempted to metaphorically walk into every class. I feel, let me see the prep children, how are they doing? Let me see my primary, how are they faring, whether they are okay, not okay, happy or not, or with the teachers and the seniors, and what is the level of attendance like. And fortunately, in our school, discipline is of prime importance, and children and parents are with us always. So in a way, it has made us more busy, including the teachers. I'm not talking of just heads of institutions, but even teachers are more busy. You see, they've had to cope up with home life, their own children, their children's classes, and taking their own classes, plus preparing for the lessons. Because in school, you do get 1 or 2 periods in between where you can loosen down a little and be with your friends in the class, in the staff room. But here, they were all the time on tenterhooks. And my hats off to the teachers, all the teaching community. I salute them. I never realized that they could carry the baton in this manner. Beautifully, they've done it all across the country, not just in Northern India. Thank you so much. I think when next my turn comes, I'll add on a little more. Thank you.
I'll hand it over to Adarsh, but before that, so since we have, we're joined by two school principals also, and we're joined by Tanuja ma'am also, who's again the dean. So now what I would like to take here, and as we take Alka ma'am next maybe, so is, as Zirwan ma'am said, I have to metaphorically go into classes, something on those lines. So the question is that, there's a culture when principals or supervisors go to classes, students and everyone are very alarmed that principal has come now, we need to act serious, something on those lines. Though I don't think that happens when you go via an online Zoom meeting or any meeting in general, because that's so they're not even alarmed that a principal is coming. Don't you think so? Alka ma'am, Tanuja ma'am, anyone who would like to go next?
Maybe let's have Alka ma'am if you would be there.
Actually, when we say that we are alarmed by the principal, I would say that maybe we were when we were in school. I think we never crossed our principal's office also. We were so scared at that time. But things have changed. And I think being an educator, year after year, there's one thing I've learned is what is more important is the connect. And personally, to be very frank, I have never believed in any hierarchy. I feel the more connected you are with the students, the better it works. That fear factor has never been my forte, or I would say my being. For me, it is important that I connect to the students. So it's almost the same when I go to a class. Otherwise, I'm sure the students would agree. They feel the same if I'm walking in the corridor, unless there is something drastically wrong. So obviously, that is one time a person or a child would be fearful of anyone, not just me, any teacher also. And it's the same feeling when I go to the classes online also. The same. It's just a pleasure seeing all the students out there. And as Nirmal ma'am was saying that yes, you are tempted to go to the classes. But I generally do not speak in the class. It's like I just be there, observe, and majorly what is important for me is, like even now, if I'm looking at Devansh, Saransh, Devanshu, like Vyomika, so I try to look at the eyes of my kids and the smile. That's more important for me. Academics will take place. It will surely take place. What is more important is I hope they're happy. So for me, it's like that. Thank you.
That's really beautiful to hear, ma'am. Actually, I would have not expected anyone to say that how someone looks at the eyes and smiles at the kids when they're in the classroom. That's probably the most beautiful thing I've heard over the last week, all the while I've been attending my classes. So maybe Tanuja ma'am can talk about this, about talking about the connect with students. So ma'am, specifically because now during the lockdown, when students went from the class 12th to the right. So when students went from the class 12th to the first year of the college, so there was definitely a very sudden change, a kind of a change which they did not experience before. And you being the Dean of Student Welfare at GD Goenka University, I'm pretty sure you have something to add on or something to tell us how that side of the story has never came out. So as soon as you're ready, ma'am.
Yeah, once again, good afternoon to everyone, all the STEAM panel members and the participants. Hope you and your family members are healthy and safe. And at the outset, first, let me congratulate others, Priyanshu and the entire team for organizing such a great panel discussion. The topic is very apt. COVID-19 has impacted all of us. And I'm happy that in this discussion, we are not talking about the sufferings, the figures of number of deaths, because that's very depressing. That's very depressing. And in fact, if I talk about myself, I'm aware, but I'm not informed because I've stopped watching at all the WhatsApp messages and the news channels because it is affecting our mental health. And as an educator, as a dean student welfare, I strongly feel that mental health is very important as compared to anything else. Now, coming to the question, others that you asked, yes, this was the first time that we had e-orientation, where the new batch of students were welcomed, and we were not prepared because we have never done online orientation. So there was some gap where we could not feel the attachment, face-to-face attachment. We had about 1,200 to 1,500 new students joining the university campus, and we don't have one specialization. You call it and we have it. We have management, engineering, fashion design, hospitality. There are many courses which are many practical oriented, and we were not able to deliver those practical courses. So the challenge was there, but I'm happy that, as a teacher, as a student, we evolved and we adapted to technology very fast than you would have expected. So overall, I think we have moved to a digital age. Thank you.
That's really amazing to hear that, specifically being a student of that very own college. I personally believe that the college couldn't have handled it in a much better way. I've seen, specifically, I've heard a lot about CC schools, specifically Bluebells also. I've heard how at least these institutes, at least who have joined us, I've personally heard about how the students feel all that. It was amazing how things have been handled, because everyone knows that times have been tough. Talking about that, Arindam sir, do you have any points you would like to share, considering you yourself being the national head of USA UniQuest, which happens to be the sister branch of Fiji? So how did what do you think was there a sudden change when it comes to the coaching institutes, when it comes because specifically there has been a sudden change for the coaching institutes also? Maybe Arindam sir or Nitin sir could talk about that.
Well, actually, we didn't face much of a problem, because a large part of our classes, in any case, we used to have it online. So we were pretty used to having, students take classes online. But I feel that over the last 1 year, or maybe a year and a half now, almost, we missed an opportunity in shifting students from becoming literate to lifelong learners, and that is something that over the last 1.5 years, what I have tried to do, at least in my classes, is to shift from teaching the students to a flip class method, where we allow the students to read stuff on their own and come back with questions, rather than to be fed. Because going ahead, if you see, in the next 15-20 years, we no longer need people who are able to memorize, because Google gives you everything. So you must have people who have the capability and the skills, and that is something that you need to teach them, is how to learn new stuff. So I think over the last 1 year, what I did was I made my students read up a lot of books on social sciences, because a lot of my students mainly are from science backgrounds and wanting to get into engineering colleges and all that. But they have zero knowledge of anything related to the social sciences. And over the last 1 year, I've been sort of trying to get them to read up on things like empathy, how to build a society that believes in empathy. Because I think over the last 1 year, what I felt was we have very much lacked in our empathy, or in empathetically dealing with the problem that, the COVID-19 has brought on us. So that's the little bit of change that we have done. And we'll discuss that when we go.
Definitely.
Thanks.
I would like to take Nitin sir next to share his on this particular topic.
Okay, so you're asking me the major change which has happened to the coaching industry. So for me personally, I would say that it has been a major change. Let me tell you why. Because as sharing the same philosophy what Alka ma'am just spoke, that as a teacher, we are more interested in reading, the eyes of the child, what they're going through and what are their challenges, their body language, because, we meet them every day or every alternate day, right? So, it's really engaging to read a student's mind, right? And that's our philosophy. That's the core which I take up in my academy, right? So in my coaching, what I'm missing is meeting them, greeting them, and solving their problems. So, this digital thing has created a little bit of barrier. So, each and every person has got that aura. Hello? Priyanshu, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible now. Yes, sir.
So, the only thing which this e-learning has taken away from us is that how to, maintain that aura. So we're trying hard. Obviously, all the teachers are trying hard. But, scientifically, the aura which we carry is more effective when we meet the child. And when you talk about learning and teaching, it's more about, person specific. It is more person driven rather than technology driven, though जैसी situation होती है, all of us we adjust to it, and as everyone said that we have very well adapted to the setup because that's how human beings are. You give us a situation and we will definitely adapt and adopt the things which are there on our way. But I think as the teaching fraternity is there will be no denial that the offline meetings, everyone we are like craving for it, right? What someone would crave for a chocolate ice cream or whatever, we are craving that bad to meet all the students and create that bond which is there. And I would like to answer one more thing, what you asked Nirmal ma'am, right? How the schedules have changed and how we elderly are different from you guys, how we are adjusting our sleep patterns. The only difference is that we are not binge watching Netflix and all. So you guys take proper sleep and everything will be fine, okay? Don't blame online everything, okay? That's it.
So that brings me to the question that you say, as human beings we adapt. Now, a continuous struggle has been studying the old school way, that is, opening books and studying, versus studying online. Because I don't belong to. Are you all aware about the terminology called Gen Z? Just asking, this terminology called Gen Z. I don't belong to this. I by 2 years, but still. So though the constant struggle between, again, the old school way and the Gen Z way is that we want to study online. We want to study ebooks, let's say. So, but now it's becoming a burden for students, even like us. I mean, so coming from the other side also, and coming from the side also where we work with students. So it's a constant. It's something that we see both the we have our shoes in both the faces in, right, both the sides in. So since you work with students much more than we do, we'd like to take your opinions there. How do you think students are coping up with this? So is it the old school way now they're craving back because they have to study online? There's no other option available. Let's start with Nitin sir only first, and then we'll go. Then we let's come to other guests. Nitin sir, how do you respond to that?
Yeah. So
Priyanshu,
obviously,
Priyanshu, why didn't you give us your idea on? I mean, how did you take your online classes instead of
Sir, I to bought
you're
a,
on the other
I
side.
to bought a I to bought a tablet for this. That I would study ebooks, because even so, but now it's becoming a burden because I like studying the old school way, because this studying like this is a burden, especially with a lot of screen time that we are now on, a lot of screen time that we're now on with various other activities with online classes also. So we'll take Nitin sir
Priyanshu,
as a.
don't make it old school, yeah. Don't make it old school. It's something which is forever, I believe.
Definitely, sir, forever.
It's going to be forever. The offline teaching is going to stay forever. Obviously, this is just a phase where we are, at least giving some positivity to ourselves and learning new skills, no doubt about it. But yes, definitely, this is not going to be old school. Offline learning is something which is there to stay forever.
So definitely, but the why I called it the new school, the old school way and the new school way is the new school way is also eco-friendly, if you've heard of it. Now that's the trump card argument that these Gen Zs give, that it's eco-friendly. You don't have to print a 400 pages book. You can have it online in an ebook format. Now, what do you say to that, sir?
No, obviously, see, understand. For each and every step we take in our life, there is always a positive connotation and there is a negative connotation. Every aspect has that positive and negative. But let's look at a broader picture, a bigger picture out here. Why offline school was needed at the first place? Because human beings need social interaction. We grow with each other. We don't grow in isolation, right? Sitting in front of screen and getting all the knowledge. Where would you went out? Where would you went out your emotions? Talking to people on phone or on internet and all? Are those the real emotions or the real connects which you have? I believe no. You might be having n number of Instagram friends, Facebook friends, but who are your real friends with whom you can sit and chit chat? Actually meeting them in person, right? So for that,
how can you argue with anyone on terms of eco-friendly meals and all that? So those things are needed as a part of system. So let's not say let's save water and paper and everything, and let's sit at home and let's not waste everything or anything on this planet. That's not how it's going to be. Then there can be another argument that we are consuming too much of technology, 5G coming up, 4G coming up, and birds are getting impacted, the environment is getting impacted. Then the debate can go into another direction, where Johi Chawla files a case that 5G would ruin the environment and everything. Then I would say that it's better that we don't make out there and we make at least
very well slammed, sir. Which was also very well slammed by the court, if I'm not wrong. Something on those lines.
It was slammed. It was slammed. It was slammed. It was slammed. But is there a denial? You tell. It was slammed because it was a publicity stunt. But would you deny that all this technology is affecting our environment? Yes or no? You tell me. Do you think so?
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely,
it is. It is. It is. There are researchers and science behind it. The court might decline that or might slam their petition and everything. We know that, and how courts and everything operates. You know that already, right? Because with evolution, with time, we have to upgrade to 5G, tomorrow 6G and 7G, whatever G we have to go for. But the same thing, whatever is evolving, there is a positive and there is a negative. But let's accept it that offline or the old school, which you say, is a must thing for anyone out there.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you so much. We'll go to Mr. Arindam next. Sir, how do you respond to the same question again? Arindam, sir, am I audible?
See, I tell you, I'm very happy with this online thing because at least, what it does is, especially in the city of Delhi, since we are not a regular school, we are a coaching institute or a mentoring institute. So we have classes, let's say, for 2 hours in a day, sort of 2 to 3 hours in a day. A lot of my students used to spend commuting time of 2 to 3 hours just to attend a class for 2 hours maybe. And that's a lot of time saved that they can use otherwise. So as far as tertiary education is concerned or ancillary education is concerned, I think the move to online has been very good for both the student and the parents, because since I deal with students in school, you normally have one of the parents coming along with the child just so that they are not traveling alone. So that, that's an extra burden on the parent. Plus, like I said, commuting time takes up a lot of, a lot of time is now saved on commuting. So for my set of students, I feel that they have been rather happy that things have moved fully online.
All right. Yeah, we'll go to Dr. Tanuja next. Now, in a constant struggle when she is working with college students all the way across. So, us coming from college also. So, a constant struggle between the college faculties and college students is attendance. 75% attendance is something that you require. Even when schools do not have to use a system of a particular percentage of attendance, colleges to certainly did. So now the question I'm asking there is, as Arindam sir said, it's become very convenient. So now for a class that I had at 7 o'clock, when I had to wake up at say 5:30 or 6 and get dressed and go to my college, now I can just wake up at 6:50, log into my online class, or 6:59, let's say, log into my online class and just sleep. That also happens. So and I think you're aware of that, ma'am. So how do you respond to that? Is it a bane or is it a boon? How do you respond to that?
You're right that attendance is mandatory as per the UGC rule. We need to have minimum 75% of attendance. But all said and done, we all know that we were leveraged while you were appearing for online exams, and we did give leverage because there were many students. Because in university, you don't have all students from the same city. Because we have hostels, so you have students from different city and from villages also. And these village students were not having access to internet, and even if they were having it it was many times very weak access, internet access. So as a result, even though we kept on saying that attendance is mandatory and minimum 75% is needed, but you all know that at the time of NTEM exam, we did allow everybody to appear for it, because we knew that there were struggles, challenges which they were facing, and we had to understand that because they were going through some mental trauma also. Their family members were also, tested positive. So we do have to keep the rules, but then again, we have to be, we are student friendly, and we all are, whether it is institute, whether it is school, whether it is university, we all are student friendly, and we have to cater to our students. So attendance was no doubt, there, but still everybody was given the margin.
Definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much for the answer.
Coming to Alka ma'am, my question stands from the parts of how it has been somewhat, I believe, so difficult for the teachers also to cope up with the online system, at least at the first time. I believe so. Students got used to the system much easier, in a much easier way than teachers, and also because then after one point, examinations started taking place in an online conduct. So how has so what is your opinion about that particular part?
See, Priyanshu, when we are talking about moving from offline to online, you're talking about the teachers, right? Yes,
Yes,
Peter?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
So I would say that there have been times, I'll talk about myself only, when I would walk up with my laptop to my son and say, oh, help me out with this. So he would always say, technically handicapped. So I would say all of us, and I'm referring to each one, whatever is the age, whatever is the experience, from technically handicapped as per you kiddos to tech savvy now. So all the teachers are so tech savvy. I think the moment, we say, okay, let's say Flipgrid. So I see all the teachers out there immediately on it. The number of applications they research, and they come back to me and say, ma'am, we can use this. This is much better. So I would say the transition, yes, there were little struggles. And whenever there is a transition, the struggle is there, even for you, even for us. But it was motivating. I think teaching, walking to the class and teaching, for me, it's always like I'm referring to as a teacher. Every time I wanted to teach differently. I would never like to have notes which I carry or anything. It's like different. So this gave us a better opportunity where, we could teach in different manners, as Arindam sir was saying, flip teaching, which is, out here, the kids are there. I would sincerely like to tell you, what the teachers have done is one thing, but what the students have started. There are some students on the screen where I can say that throughout the summer vacation, they've been taking classes for their colleagues. So that is also something which I would say it's come from the teachers only, when we are teaching. So we give that kind of space and opportunity to the students also to take it up. So the transition was interesting, easy. We've become more innovative, more creative. And that's the need of the hour. Even now, I think each teacher referring to, okay, design thinking, a term we would have not even thought of while walking to the class, coming back, checking our notebooks. So think of that. Your educators, the people whom, you look up to, see the transition, see where they've reached. And I'm sure the students, there are times when you all help us out. When we are on the screen and we say, oh, we do not know what to do. You do help us out, but we're learning. So I think that's important. It's not about the age.
And I think that's also inspiring, ma'am. Thank you so much for answering the question. I think that's also inspiring, that it's not just technology. It's a system where you say students are helping, teachers are helping students, and in light of that, I think it's a buddy system. I would say that we're helping each other because these unprecedented times are new to all of us. I mean, none of us are aware how to cope with it. None of us are aware how to actually go forward with this. But I think it's brilliant how we are trying to cope up with this, helping each other in the way. We'll take Nirmal ma'am next. Um, and if possible, can we spotlight the participants? How does this work? Okay. All right. Nirmal ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
how do you how is the faculty at your institution, and you in general, how are students, how is everyone coping with online education? Is it stressful? Is it, again, is it a boon, or is it a bane? How do you respond to that?
See, for you people, as you say, well, you're on the cusp of the Gen Z and the Gen Y, as I should say. But you people are born into technology. And we had to steadily learn as the necessity arose.
Absolutely.
For you, earlier technology was a fascination, but now it's become a necessity for all of us because we are learning, we are spending our leisure time through this. So technology is here to stay and we can't wish it away. But at the same time, as Nitin sir says, that we need a blend. You see, the offline mode will not go away because here human beings by nature are gregarious and we cannot live without each other's company. Not only just the virtual company, we would need the physical company. You see, all your highs and lows in the class, a little pat on the back, an appreciative glance, just a word from a teacher, it makes the day for a student. And also in classes, as students, they need a shoulder to cry on. The teacher is always ready there to pep them up also, because there's always another day. Tomorrow you'll be successful, if not today. So all those things keeping in mind, yes, a question came up about the environment. You said that technology is more eco-friendly. Well, there are different schools of thought because at the end of the day, it is energy guzzling too. And so we have to strike a balance because, as I said, we can't wish it away, but with the minimum disruptions, anything that comes new, you see, change is progress and change will happen whether we like it or no. But how best we adapt to this change, that is important. These are unprecedented times, and unprecedented times require unusual solutions. And mankind as a whole has risen up to this. And COVID has brought in many other forces into fore of various feelings of mankind, yes, the negative as well as the positive kinds. But I still believe that there are more good people on this earth than the other ones. That is why the earth is rotating. If the good disappear, the earth will stop rotating. I firmly believe that. And we must believe and have faith in mankind. Now, about the children, yes, learning will never go waste. Some may not be doing it as sincerely as they would have done in class because you're under the watchful eyes of your teacher. They may get away with it, but I can assure you that from the eyes of a teacher, nobody gets away. They may pretend to look the other way, but someday or the other, willy-nilly, you will get caught. I'm talking to you because you are far, far younger, maybe 1/4, 1/5 my age, so it doesn't matter. I can talk to you so candidly and your generation that are listening. So you're saying that marks or the exams, though I'm digressing a little, but don't worry. As long as you have your head on your shoulders, you're a balanced person, going the right way and attempting to learn. That is more important because learning is a lifelong journey. You cannot say I've done enough and all. Even I'm learning till today. I have no exams to appear or any such things to do, but still, so learning is an ongoing journey and learning will never go waste. Whether you get marks or no marks, these are one-time effort. It has brought in a little bit of disruption, 10th and 12th. Yes, 10th was the first mark sheet that the child proudly displays. And again for the 12th. But you see, there are heads that are pondering over this, trying to find solutions. And let us respect them that under the circumstances, they are coming out with the best solutions. Now, about getting the online or the virtual fatigue for the children, well, yes, you were into gadgets even when the students are in school and college. Now, the only difference is that you are purposefully into gadgets now, and for leisure, find some other ways. Maybe singing, dancing, music, do the chores around the house. Your parents will be very happy that, yes, they are helping around the house. which you earlier were not doing. And as regards the timings that they find less time because they're in front of gadgets all day, well, even while you're doing your offline learning, you do find time for all your activities. It is not that you're not finding time now. Rather, you're, as Arindam sir says, that commuting time is lessened. So when you're not commuting, you are saving time. And we all ought to learn by being organized and disciplined. We have to learn to create time. And once we've learned that time management, I don't think anything is difficult or impossible. Human beings are very resilient. We have adapted to all kinds of changes, all kinds of natural or man-made other calamities, and human race has evolved and come out victorious. Here also we will move on, and I'm sure there is light at the end of the tunnel. We'll surely find the rainbow. Thank you.
Absolutely well said, ma'am. I mean, learning is the only constant. Learning does not stop for anyone at all. I mean, and learning should not stop, because once we stop learning, what's the purpose of living? You know. And again, in the words of, I mean, Mahatma Gandhi, as you might have heard this quote, might have come across this quote for sure. Live as you were to die tomorrow. Learn as you were to live forever. So a very true quote indeed, if you think about it. So thank you so much, ma'am. The next question is, again, we have in the panel today.
Can I add on to one
Absolutely.
statement? We were talking about learning is never ending. Let me give you an example which I faced. I had two groups of students. One group was our undergraduate and postgraduate students, and one was our PhD scholars. And in PhD scholars, they are mostly in their late, even 40s, 50s, and even we have scholars in their late 60s.
Yes.
And when we went to online teaching, I teach research methodology paper, which is an embedded practical paper where we teach through software like Excel, SPSS and all. So our undergraduate and postgraduate students, these groups were very fast in adopting the technology. But while taking the classes, they used to get distracted. After the maximum focus was only for 45 minutes, and then they used to get distracted. But on contrary, we had another group of students, PhD scholars, who were in late 50s and 60s. Even though they were not very comfortable with the technology, they were making sincere efforts, taking help from their children, grandchildren, and, learning the technology. And even if the classes were for continuous 3 hours, I could personally feel that they were inclined towards that, and their attention level was much high as compared to undergraduate and postgraduate students. So it was very well said, as said by Nirmal ma'am, and you quoted Mahatma Gandhi, that learning has no age bar.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So that's the idea, that we also believe in, and that's, I think, the purpose of education should be to make people to think critically and to learn, to appreciate this idea that learning is important. So in light of that, when we're talking about in a recent decision, let's talk about the very recent decision of the government of India. That's for postponing that's for cancelling the board examinations, both for class 10th and class 12th. So for class 12 specifically, when we're talking about, and it's been a constant, two sides again, that class 12 is very crucial, we should not cancel board, etc., etc., etc. So something on those lines. We're surrounded by Alka ma'am and Nirmal ma'am. So I'll talk from the school perspective. How are the students taking up the decision, first of all, ma'am? And second, how do you think, what will be the implications of the decision? Do you think it's actually fruitful for us, for the government to do that? In terms of college admissions and everything also that they have to appear for in the near future, in the very soon near future. So let's take up Nirmal ma'am first, and then we'll come to Alka ma'am. Ma'am, you're mute. Very sorry.
Yes, thank you for reminding. This is what happens, you see. You people are faster and smarter and quicker. We always look up to you, at least in this aspect of this field. Okay, thank you. Now, you cannot please all the people all the time. And you know the rest of it, some other people, someone, all the rest. So here, you'll always have some children who would feel that it is not right. Yes, those who worked hard, who always, have been on the right side of learning and wanting to achieve, they may be feeling that they are cheated out onto this, that as regards the scores. But those who were the happy-go-lucky types, maybe they'll be benefit a shade percentage better. But learning, as I said, whatever you have studied, you appear for an exam or don't appear for an examination, it will always be handy. Whatever you do in life, no learning ever goes waste. You will need it. And examination, yes, it is one yardstick. Unfortunately, for want of a better thing or a better system, we have not been able to evolve it yet. Maybe sometime we may be able to do in the future. So at present, we only have this 3-hour examination by which we assess a child the entire year's effort. So here, it may affect some children, but at the end, you see, once you have joined your higher institutions of study, you will automatically be segregated. Those who are on the better side will move on forward at a faster pace, achieve well, and those who have tried to hoodwink the system a little, they will be falling behind, and maybe they'll have to work doubly hard or struggle, and maybe they will be on a ladder, there'll be a rung or 2 rungs behind their colleagues. That will be the only difference. No university or college, I'm sure Tanuja ma'am will vouch for me, they are not fools. They will not take children who are who have not done their homework sincerely. Because you see, when an educator, a teacher, whether a professor, teacher, or anybody, when they are putting in their best, they also want the reciprocation from the child to give their best. And if you are not interested and only I'm interested in pulling you up, I'll pull you up once, twice, thrice. But at the end of this year, I said, why am I wrecking my head against this wall? Let me pay attention to the rest of them who are willing to move on, not at their cost. I will waste my time on one. So here, this online or offline, it is that examinations will be only for that period, maybe 4 months, 6 months, it will affect them. And the whole world will know that this was the class of 2021 that was affected by Corona. So we have to look at them with a different perspective. That is what all higher education institutes will do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the answer. Let's go to Nitin sir next. Sir, again, the decision of cancellation of board examinations. For a student's life, one of the most important most important examinations that there is. So, how do you respond to that, sir? What's your view on that? Sir, I'm very sorry, you're mute.
Yeah, I think Alka ma'am was there in line with this. Probably we can go to her because let's take school perspective first. As you said,
I have a separate question though for Alka ma'am. That's why I came to you.
Because you mentioned Nirmal ma'am and Alka ma'am, so I thought that I should not barge into the talk, right? So, Priyanshu, first of all, I recorded my IGTV having my views outright that the board should be cancelled. It's not that I want the students to get away from from all the examination and from all the stress or anything. But the situation was so much so demanding that the boards could not take place or would not have been possible in the near future. And see, as Nirmal ma'am said, that life has been unfair always, to some parties, and some parties gain out of any given situation, right? This is particularly disheartening for the students who have actually put in their heart and soul. I know because we've taught online throughout, and there was a span of 2.5 months when we taught offline also. There were students who were, showing up the best they could, right? And even if they were not that good in 10th or 11th, they had, a completely different personality and different perspective towards the examination, and they were trying their level best. So it is disheartening from their point of view if we think it is actually very disheartening. But at the same time, I'm an ardent believer of this, your destiny and your karma actually comes back and everything falls in place for you in your favor if you have done something genuinely, right? People who just got away with the board examination or sharing memes कि हमारे बच्चे हमसे बोलेंगे कि मम्मी पापा फ्री में पास हो गए थे, आप तो 12th में नहीं पास हुए थे. There were a lot of memes, after that for this particular batch. But that's not the true story, because the situation was actually pretty horrific. That it was very difficult to conduct the examination when we look at it from a pan-India point of view. Some people sitting in Gurgaon or Delhi, they message me, the exam should happen, the kids worked hard. I understand, there are a lot of emotions attached to it, and each and every teacher wanted the exam to happen because that's the yardstick, basically what our society or the colleges or the setup have, right? But at the end of the day, if it was not possible and it was for the good of the health of students, then it was a fair decision. Now, when you talk about the institutions, as Nirmal ma'am covered it really well, that the institutions are smart enough. If you talk about the private institutions, they were, as it is, not too much dependent upon the board examination, your results only. They were also considering the interviews were there, group discussions were there. So all the other parameters were there in place. You talk about any other university apart from Delhi University, they had their own parameters to check up on a student. It was not a simply CBSE mark sheet which was there, right? Because they wanted a student who is holistically developed, right? When you talk about Delhi University, because they are primarily based upon the merit, so that was the major chunk of the students who wanted to get into the top-notch colleges, and they were mainly driven by 95 plus. They are actually suffering. So if I have to bracket it out, then those are the students who were actually targeting that particular college, or मुझे St. Stephen's जाना है, SRCC जाना है, those particular set of students, they're actually suffering and they would definitely be feeling bad. We understand, but at the end of the day, everything would be fine, right? And DU also wanted to, come up with this CUCET, but unfortunately, that decision is still in the middle of nowhere, right? And had it been, it could have been there in place. Probably that would have been a fair game. I think so. But to say that there is one simple solution which makes everyone happy, that's not at all possible. Somewhere or the other, it will be disheartening for someone. When boards used to happen, then also there was a section of students or parents or teachers, or might be section of people who would say, no, boards are not fair. They are not the true indicator of a student knowledge. There are a lot of students who commit suicide or they feel depressed, don't take good examinations. So, there would always be a debate around it. Right? So let's not get into that. Let's accept what it comes to us, like we adapted to technology, and that's how everyone should take this decision also. And just remember that God is there to see everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Definitely, sir, rightly said that we need to accept it as it comes, definitely something which I believe so we all have been trying to do all through the pandemic. Ma'am, my next question is to Alka ma'am, and specifically because I personally believe even in the live and in the session itself, there are many 12Ds who really want to know that how are we going to go about. There are many students who know about the evaluation part. There are many students who don't know about the evaluation part. I specifically, being in my third year of college, even I want to know that. So if you could shed a light about how is the evaluation part.
Actually, the process is still on. So it would not be right on my part to comment on, the rational document which would be created. But I can just say that as educators, what we have proposed is majorly, like there are two thoughts, is that grade 10 marks. But let's say, for example, I'm taking grade 10 marks of a child who has commerce. So we have recommended that social studies, mathematics, like only those subjects should be picked up, which are relevant now, because it's, there are kids who do not do well in 10th. All of a sudden, when they come to commerce or humanities, or I would say they don't like social studies for non-medical, so they do well. So that's a point of view what we have given to CBSE. And the grade 12, because we've been having online examination in our school, we did have one offline exam also. So we're going to consider the best out of it. And majorly, even CBSE and all the educators, what they're looking at is the best what can be given to the students. For grade 10, we were given an historical data. That is the best performance of the school for grade 10 in past 3 years. So they picked up 1 year. They gave us a bracket where we had to put the marks. So majorly all the schools fall in that bracket. So we did have one observation. There were certain students who suffered because of this, because there can be a batch which is brilliant with mathematics. And there was a bracket which was given by CBSE, but then That's the best they could do. You cannot cater for every single child, every single person. And personally, I feel, because I'll just continue with the conversation which is on also, is that it is not about the marks, what you score in grade 10 or grade 12 always. Yes, important for getting into a college. Yes, important for a certain number of students. But however the board decides, first of all, they're going to decide in the best interest of the students. We saw, I'm sure Nirmal Ma would agree to it, and other educators also, they did the best. And almost every child has got the advantage out there. So that's one part. The second is, this is for all the grade 12 students out here, as well as grade 10 students. What you have learned is not a subject, remember that. It's a way of learning. Remember, let's say there's an IITN, and the IITN gets into a bank, and they do. I'm sure you're aware about it, right? So are they going to teach electronics or take on electronics what they've studied over here? No, there's a way of learning. There's a skill set. So coming to school, understanding your subjects. Yes, obviously there's a content what you understand. But right now, if you ask me, because I'm teaching economics, obviously that content is required. How about the other subjects what I've studied? Am I using that content? No, there's a skill set which is important. So remember, decision-making, critical thinking, collaborative learning. This is something what you learned in school. It's going to go a long way. The CEOs of a company or the people who are doing extremely well, ask them, was your score XYZ in grade 12? No, I won't as an educator ever say that, the marks, they don't matter at all, but they're not end of everything. There's so much beyond it. So remember, you are one special batch. You learned compassion. You learned resilience. I think you were one most lucky batch who got the family time. Most lucky batch. I think for years, we get up in the morning, we come to school, and we go back home, and many of us, we go for extra classes and coaching and play, and you come back and you sleep. Your mother, your parents, they never felt, they never saw you. You were never there. And now, at least you got the time. So it's not always we've lost anything. We've gained so much. So just keep looking at the gain. Remember that. So for grade 12, believe whatever would be decided by CBSE, it would be in the best interest. And you all would be the most amazing batch. And I think if the hiring takes place, Viraj, so they would say, okay, we want students from this particular batch because they've learned much more than others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really, really inspiring hearing that, because I think that instills confidence in all of us too, that we've learned something more than we generally would. So certain values, that something more than we generally would, and that's inspiring. Nirmal ma'am, you were saying something, please.
No, I just wanted to say that, well said, Alka ma'am. You are these children, definitely they've had an edge as regards family time and the feelings. Yes, though there have been disruptions, there have been tragedies, we've been hearing bad news as well, but still we have learned to come out of it. We've learned to cope with it. And these are also essential skills, life skills that human beings require. And as Nitin sir was saying, and Arindam sir also, that we need this holistic approach. Those children who have balanced out their educational and their personal lives, and they are emotionally stable, these children are the ones who are going to succeed tomorrow in future. Marks, yes, you need to cross a certain barrier, but beyond that, you're all equal. Now your other skills come into the fore. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was lovely hearing you also. Mr. Arindam, now the next question is to you, sir.
Before you ask me the next question, I just wanted to butt in on the last discussion.
Absolutely.
See, I tell you, the teachers are working very hard, especially the lady teachers. I must, share my appreciation for them. They are mothers and teachers at the same time at the home. And it is a very difficult situation because, I have a few lady teachers who are helping us out as well. And I can understand that, the tough situation that they are going through. Being a mother at home and teaching students at the same time is a very difficult job. But having said that, everybody, the students and teachers, they have tried their best to adapt to the online learning environment. But I only wished that the policymakers at the top did not take the decision of, cancelling the examinations right at the moment when it was supposed to be held. This is a decision that would have taken 2 or 3 months back itself. And it brings us to the other question is that we must now insist that, the ministers who are sitting as education ministers or HR ministers or whatever have some background in teaching and in some background in training. You can't have somebody who was looking at the coal ministry last year, suddenly now, creating a white paper on education and things like that. They will not be able to come up with anything that satisfies everyone.
Absolutely.
So I think there is time that, we also ask this to, why only asking the school principals? Ask the students also that what is it that they want? See, I'm dealing with students who are going abroad. Counselors in universities abroad are asking the kind of questions we cannot answer them at this moment. And many students, in fact, they might come to a situation that they will lose their offers of admission because of some, criteria that is not yet clear. And then that becomes a problem because these students will then lose a whole academic year going ahead. Because by the 1st of May, a lot of the universities in Europe, for example, in Netherlands, most universities in, in US, they have had to, the students have had to decide which university to go to. And that was on basis of some marks in CBSE or the other that they felt that they would be able to get. Now we know the exams are cancelled. We don't know what's the criteria of marking now. That's a problem for a lot of students. And I wish that wouldn't have arisen. It shows rather lack of empathy on the part of the, people at the decision-making level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well said. Thank you so much, sir. It was again lovely hearing you. We will go to Dr. Tanuja next. And the question arises here and from this. We've talked about how students are taking up the decision and how are they reacting to the decision. How will this impact students' lives? Great. But a bigger question that, that needs to be asked. And then we would maybe come to Arindam sir again and maybe Nathan sir again. The question is, how do you think college admissions will suffer because of this? What will be the change evaluation criteria for college admissions, let's say?
Well, Priyanshu, as far as college admission is concerned, for us, whether it is undergraduate level or postgraduate level, we have our own MAT and CAT scores. So only there is some eligibility criteria, minimum eligibility criteria that they need to fulfill. So in 12th, you should have, for example, 50% marks, and then you have to sit for our own exam, or we take the MAT score, or we have our own GDPI, which they have to go for. So as far as admission is concerned, last year also, we thought that we will have less admission, but then we were surprised to see that the number of admission in undergraduate or postgraduate level or PhD level were at par with what we had in last few years. So admission has not, in fact, we were at an edge because many students who had planned to go abroad decided to take a break and enroll in Indian university only. And since most of the private universities have a collaboration with international universities, where you have a system of what we call it as articulation. In articulation, what happens, you do 1 year in Indian university, and then second and third year, you can do it at foreign university and get a degree from foreign university. So as a result, many admission we got where students were willing to go abroad, but first year they decided to do it here because of the pandemic. And second and third year, hopefully they would be able to go to their dream universities where they can pursue their further degree.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. That I think helps a lot of people who are viewing it and who are also in ambiguity about how are their college admissions going to take place, especially the batch which is finally even declared passed out, you know. So others, over to you.
Um, my next question is to Nitin, sir. Even though definitely academics have some way or the other, I would not say suffered, but some way or the other have changed or got impacted upon. One part which I don't which I don't see a lot of people talking about in such forums is the extracurricular activities part. When schools were going on some way or the other, it was always seen that even though if students didn't want to participate, there was always that they were at least made to sit there in front of the competitions. Now it's more like as Priyanshu sir was mentioning before, if the competition is at 7 o'clock and if you're not the one participating, you just simply log in, switch off the camera, and just go and sleep. So do you think some of you sir not being able to see those events, not being able to participate, impacted them a lot? What is your viewpoint about that?
Yeah, right. Others, I would say definitely yes, right? Because as we have discussed it earlier also, that we human beings, we need to have that interaction, social skills, be it a debating competition, basketball, volleyball. What do we learn from a basketball match? Do we learn basketball over there, or we go to NBA or something? No, we learn how to play in a team, right? How to take care of our teammate, right? If someone is injured, that you need to take care of that person, how to dribble the ball, how to pass the ball, so it's not a game actually, it's whole process of learning implemented into the game. Right now, that's something which is really missing. Online education can happen, the extracurricular activities which are there, the kind of, so for example, others, let's suppose you were there in offline school and you're supposed to get onto the stage in front of 200 students over there, right? And you need to speak. Then that was a complete different exposure which was there, rather than talking about it right now in front of screen where you can't see 200 people in one screen fitted together, right? So how to manage that stress, how to handle that audience, right? Yahan par you can mute someone, but in those 200 people, if someone is there, can you mute someone? No, you can't, right? So let's suppose you fumble, you can mute yourself. Let's suppose you don't want to show up, you can mute your, you can hide the video, right? So all those privileges are there. So that, it was not about the game. It was not. It was. Can you hear me, Adarsh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I can't hear you. Yeah, yeah. So that it's not all about the game. Not all about the game. It's not all about the debate or anything. It's all set of learning. What we said that offline school really caters to, and I believe that is something which is actually missing. The mental pressure which kids they have. Why do we go to school? Is it actually to learn business studies, economics, accountancy, physics, bio? No. We learn life from there. All the good memories. You ask most of the people. I would say if you pick up a sample size of 10, it would say, if you ask them, do you miss your school? They would say, we badly miss our school. Because those sweet little memories which are there in school, those memories would never come back. That true friendship, that samosa in the canteen, right? Or I don't know whether you guys are into samosa. Those pizzas in the canteen. I don't know what do you guys prefer right now, right? So that social interaction, that bonding, that love, care, affinity which we had, that's actually missing. So definitely, it's going to be miserable for the mental health which is there. At the same time, I've seen many schools coming up with a lot of programs where they have debates, online debates, and everything, which is actually filling in the void, which is actually needed. But yes, it cannot be as good as what should have been offline, but at least something they're trying, which is really appreciable at the same time.
Thank you so much, sir. With that, what we'll do is we'll come to the closing remarks for all the panelists. But before that, there were questions from our participants. So if there are any questions, you can raise your hands. We saw two hands. Shagunji was raising their hand, and also as was Kushiji. So we'll go to Shagunji first, and then we'll go to Kushi. Shagun, if you'd like to ask a question, are you here?
Am I audible?
Absolutely, loud and clear. Please go on.
Thank you so much. So I was listening to the whole conversation and I can actually understand what have been the aftermaths of the court cancellation. But I just want all of you to just point out what have been the implications on the next batches. Like this batch have been out. Okay, they have their assessment, they will have their criteria by next week or something, and they'll be out. But suppose I'm in grade 12 and I'll be giving my board examination maybe next year. So now I have a precedent in my mind, like, okay, this year, because of all the situations, the board have been cancelled. For next year, because this year even the situations are worse. They didn't get any better. So there might be, I have my doubts like what is going to be next year. I am giving my best for my internals and everything, but again there is one thing, that why me? Why again me? The batch which is 1 year younger than me, they didn't have to pay for their boards. The batch 1 year senior, they didn't have to pay for them. But again, why me? So this sort of questions, they generally come up whenever I'm having conversation with friends or in a circle. It generally comes up as. And after this, what is there is the university admissions. I don't want to give it my boards because maybe I have a precedent, but at the same time I want the best university. Like Nitin sir very well quoted that DU is planning for something or the other. I want the best university, but at the same time I have my doubts with the examination and assessment part. So I just want also to point out my mental state right now, because what I am lacking right now is encouragement and motivation, I would say. So I just want everyone to answer that.
Coupled, any one of you is free to answer the question. But before that, coupled also with this is the question that do we see hope for this batch also to get their boards cancelled? Because I think that's a pertinent question everyone has been wanting to ask. So any one of you would like to proceed? Nitin sir, please.
Yeah, so one of the most amazing question which has really popped up after the board cancellation, I think the 12th which is outgoing is not that worried that their boards are cancelled. What the current 12th is more anxious to know is कि हमारे साथ अब क्या होगा यार, ये हमारे साथ हम ना फंस जाएं, right? So again, there would be again different set of students who would like to write the boards and another set of students who don't want to write the boards. So number one, it would be too early to say or too early to judge the situation that the boards would happen or not. And let's not compare our situation to someone else. I would pray and I would wish that each and every student prays that the board examination should happen. It's not about the marks I'm saying. It's all about because that examination prepares you for a continuous 1 year learning, and what the accumulated the years what you've learned. It is all test of your perseverance, your hard work, and the pressure which you take and the hard work which you actually do. You appear in the paper, you learn a lot of things, not in terms of marks, but the other aspects of life, which definitely help you when you would write a UPSC paper or you would write an IIT paper, because those are also strenuous papers, right? So you learn, this is the first pedestal. So I will pray that, board examination should happen, number one. Number two, what I see, the change which is there, because now board will be coming up with their own criteria, how they would judge, and there are a lot of discussions that they might account for the 11th or the 12th internal scores. So I think students should be more on their toes now to score well in the UTs and the terminals and the class assignments. And, because, with board culture, the only unfortunate thing which we saw for some students was that they would, not perform very well or not being very serious throughout year. And they would think that last 3 months, we'll just put the first gear and gear up and we'll score 95 plus. But that's not ideally the right approach. When we talk about CC pattern or anything, it was all about a continuous and a comprehensive evaluation which was there. So now this would more come, bring forth the CCE pattern, where all the students should be on their toes. Ke agar boards nahi hue, then they'll have to push in a lot harder for their UTs, terminals, and their class activities, internal assessment. They should be alert right now. Otherwise, the students who are in 12th right now, they were scared, or they are scared right now because they know the whole year, somewhere or the other, they have not done that well in UTs and terminals. Given a task, agar unko pata hota board cancel hoga, they would have put in much more hard work what they could have done. So, that tough target has to be given so that we perform the best. I believe so. So, Shagun, you really need to work hard from day one, even if the boards get cancelled. And if they don't get cancelled, as it is, you are in a better position because you worked hard. So nothing to lose.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the panel who would also like to answer this question?
Priyanshu, I would just like to add on over here for Shagun. The CBSE also has taken up the complete process. You never know what is going to happen. So therefore, we've been having continuous discussions, the educators in different forums, where we are talking about, apart from the assessment, what we do, like the unit test and the midterms, reinforcement, and so on. There is one more thing what they're asking us to look at is basically project-based learning. Is the students to be given projects, because that is going to something which would be a real assessment or evaluation. The struggle, what I'm sure Nirma ma'am would agree to that, and the other educators also, what we faced is students were not consistent. What Nitin sir was saying, I 200% agree. It's not last 2 months you study and you score a 99 and that's going to work out. So it's the consistency which should be the norm now. And another thing is the CBSE is planning the assessment. Like in case something like this happens, the pattern of assessment is going to change now. So that's the reason why most of the schools have started off with projects. They've started involving the students in different kinds of projects. So when we're talking about the projects, the project is based on the learning, that is the subject matter, the content also, and apart from that, which is going to help them in the college admissions. So that's a perception which has come in, and most of the teachers have started off with that, Shagun, right, beta? And the board exam gets cancelled, doesn't get cancelled, don't worry about that. See, what we need to do right now is present, live in present. So we study whatever we are studying and continue. What happens at the time, we'll see. And I'm sure whatever happens would be the best. But now you need to plan, which the present outgoing 12 did not. They were not clear that they thought, it's okay, we do not give one examination. It's okay, so it was one-sided approach. I'm preparing for my JEE mains, or I'm preparing for my XYZ coaching class tuitions, or a teacher has given a particular test, so forget about other subjects. Consistency is important, which is the need of the hour. It was always the need of the hour, right, Shagun? So this is one part. And secondly, remember, we were taken with this pandemic and the whole situation all of a sudden. This year we're a little better. So same as with the universities, same as with Arindam sir would agree to that. Same as when we're talking about admissions abroad. So the approach would also change. So remember that. So the anxiety can be reduced or maybe like nullified completely, looking at that all different institutions are looking at the same present situation, or the mindset which you have. I think you're representing the complete student fraternity over here, right, Peter?
Definitely.
So, ma'am, are you suggesting that after having scrapped the CC, they are planning to bring it back again?
No, sir. They're not trying to bring it back. They're not suggesting that. They are suggesting a different mode of assessment. So, like examination, the UTs, what they have suggested, the reason is because this time when we were picking up the unit test and all, many kids were, they've suffered. So, therefore, CBSE looking at, the inputs from the educators, like we've been complaining constantly, this is not working out, that is not working out. So, they are suggesting, like, the recent forums, the complete discussion has come to a point where we say that project-based learning. Let's take on projects so that it's not just a test or an examination where we assess a child. It's the continuous learning what the child is doing. So it's not the CC pattern. So they're not discussing that.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Let's take the next question. I mean, so we have Kushi here with us. Yes, Kushi, go ahead.
So first of all, greetings to one and all present here. And this was a lovely panel discussion. I was, glad to be part of. From ranging to, a student's idea ki education system is somewhat not understanding me was something which I used to believe. And I think that many students did go through that, toll on their mental health, that they are not understanding us. But after this panel discussion, I understood that it's a two-way process, one step from my side, one step from yours. So I'm truly glad to be here. One question that I would love to, add on from what Shagun said was, there's a toll on mental health on students as well as teachers. So for teachers, it's in a very different direction from what as a student's perspective is. Me being a college student, first year college student who has not visited college yet, thinks that a college is another school. We are attending an online class, missing the fun of the college or per se school also. So as I know that Tanuja ma'am herself is dean at a college, ma'am, I would just would love if you could elaborate on how actually what I have personally observed, being a theater artist and a dance artist, that somewhat in regards to education also, the extracurriculars and co-curriculars are somewhat being affected majorly, because most of the time is being devoted during the online classes of 6 to 7 hours. But the kind of competitions we used to have, the fun, the OC activities and everything, that is something that is also making our schedule being disturbed at some point, which is also kind of taking a toll on our mental health, because that was something that we used to enjoy more than studying. That was the place where we actually used to learn while experimenting. So ma'am, something in that regards.
Kushi, totally agree with you, and I'm so glad that you had pointed out this point of extracurricular activities, because this is something which is very challenging, and we are also facing it. Because for all-round development of our students, both part is important, your academic as well as co-curricular activities. And whatever you learn in college also, when you get placement, you will realize that only 20 or 25% of the portion is something which you will use, and 75% would be the co-curricular or the leadership skills that will be used. So no doubt, when we moved to online, teaching the co-curricular activities was affected a lot. We did try as a university, if I talk about GD Goenka University, we did try to have, the convocation was moved to online convocation, the freshers party was moved to online get together. We had a farewell party which was moved to online farewell party, where we did try to, capture the videos and then collate those videos, but then nothing can be matched with the offline events. I remember that last year when we had the convocation, we had to have the convocation because many students were applying for higher education and they needed the degree. So we had no choice but to have online convocation. And when we floated this idea, there were 80% of the students who were not in favor of having online convocation. Because the glad of wearing a gown and wearing a cap and all, that cannot be replaced. So we had to promise our students that we are having online convocation in the interest of yours, but once the university opens, we will again have an offline convocation. And we did that. Last year in August, we had an online convocation, but in February, when we opened for just 2 months, we had to move it to again offline convocation, which we call it as special convocation. And it was surprising to note that 70% of the students turned up. So I totally agree with you that extracurricular activity cannot be replaced with this online mode. And therefore, we all are looking forward that this uncertainty will, come back and we are back to our normal life. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I mean, we've had a wonderful time, by the way, in as far as debating is concerned. The whole of, the last 5-6 months, we've had debates across the world, which is something, an experience that we never used to have before. So even now, so for example, in July and in August, we'll have the World Schools Debating Championship, which is happening online. And
no, even, sir,
we don't have to
even we had it. I think Adarsh is there. He's a student of GD Goenka University. We had MUN, we had National Youth Day. So everything was done online, but it cannot replace the offline mode that we used to have.
Yes, absolutely. But as far as debating was concerned, I felt that students were much more better exposed this year, because a lot of the international tournaments they went online, which was not the situation previously. Many students would avoid it because of the large cost of traveling abroad and all that. This time at a very minimal cost, we could attend so many events.
Right. Thank you so much, Kushi.
That was a good one.
With that, I think the online environment also, we've been talking about it a lot right now. But it also presents us an opportunity to connect with people across the world, something we could not do before. So Nitin sir, you want to say something? Please go on. Sir,
yeah. Just one line. What I wanted to add on, and Kushi specifically, I'm telling you this, that earlier all of us were in that state of mind that whenever we used to meet people, we would think, okay, how to show with this person or how to run away from the situation. I would say, idle at home, give me some space. Right now, we have had our space, right? Everyone wants to bounce back. This time, when everyone comes out, we would value the people, the events, the situations much more, because we've been deprived of since long. So probably it's in our best interest that whenever you would go out, you would enjoy it more. So it's okay sometimes to be sad to get that happiness. Okay, so just relax.
Sabar ka phal meetha hota is what I think we've been, now being conditioned practically for. So when we go out, it'll hit us different now, right? Thank you so much, sir, for saying this.
Moreover, personally, this is something which I've heard Nirmal ma'am say a lot. How quality matters more than quantity. So obviously, we can participate in n number of competitions. I have participated in n number of debates, but going to that one debate, that one experience, I don't think, I believe it's not the 10 times you participate, but that one time which hits you different. And I think so that one time has been missing a lot in online simulations, definitely a lot. So definitely, rightly said Priyanshu sir, that it's gonna hit us
Thank you.
differently.
Okay. Thank you
I
so
believe
much. Let's take Nirmal ma'am next on again this element. And here is how we'll wind up the discussion for the day.
I think there's a question from Viraj. We haven't asked him yet, if you've noticed. Am I right, Adarsh? There's a question from Viraj.
Raj, if you could
He wants to ask.
if you just
Put his hand up.
Yes, he did put his hand up.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much, ma'am, for recognizing. Actually, I was waiting for this from pretty long. So, hello, everyone. This is Viraj, and I am from Blue Hills Model School, and I am in the passed out 12th right now. So, I've been listening to the conversation from quite long, and it's been a great conversation, and I've jotted down a lot of points from all the panelists. So I heard some of the conversations regarding the change in the pattern of CBSE to CCE, then project-based learning from Alka ma'am. So there has been one personal concern from very long that I'm facing, which is that the CBSE has been focusing on rote learning and memorizing things a bit more than understanding and thinking out of the box. If you go to IB structures, we all realize that there are plagiarism checks, there are projects, there are essays for 5,000 words and much more. Whereas when we go to CBSE, there are only projects, and this is a sad truth that me being a student like completely accepts it, that we just copy paste it. It's just nothing more than a command C and a command V, and then we'll get some grades or less or more or whatever. But the structure needs to be changed. So are we expecting a change in CBSE for students of upcoming year, like Shagun mentioned? Because there has to be a change in the pattern to get our students out of the box.
If you have any,
Viraj, may I answer?
Yes, ma'am. It will be a pleasure to hear from you.
I think Alka ma'am or me, both of us are competent enough to answer this. Yeah. Alka ma'am, may I? Please, ma'am. Yes, you can add on if you wish. Now, Viraj, it is not that CBSE is just about rote learning or regurgitating what you have read. You see, you forget that IB is an entirely different curriculum, and very few schools opt and very few children would like to go into it. Those who wish to go into studies abroad, or even in India, we have institutions which are now going out of the box, and the universities have come up, which are giving lateral courses and not the hackneyed set of subjects together. Now, having said that, you see, CBSE is a pan-India board. And India is not metropolitan cities. India is not North India. India is into the remotest corners of the East, the tribal regions, if you see the geographical terrains, everything up in the mountains or in the deserts, everywhere. And CBSE has to cater to all. You see, it in spirit, it is catering to this, giving it, but maybe in letter we are not able to translate it to that kind of teaching. The schools in the metropolitan and good schools, we say, I will not say any school is good or not so good. It is that the circumstances are such, the kind of teachers they get, the children that are there, the access to technology, the access to the training, all those hand-holding, those things are missing in these areas. So there you may say that they are going only by the marks. Whereas here, I'm proud of these two boys here, Priyanshu and this one, Adarsh. I mean, along with their education, they are doing these kind of things. This is, I mean, technology has brought us. Arindam sir has joined us from Calcutta. Nitin is joining us from Meerut. And I'm sure other students of yours would also be from various places where they would have gone to their hometowns or other places. Now here, CBSE, their thought process is good. It is how we as teachers have not been able to translate. There is project based. There are this application based questions. There are moral value based questions. All kinds are incorporated in it. But unfortunately, if a child is only doing rote learning, they will answer those 5, 6, 7 and get about 70-80%. That's the end of it. But the ones who are attempting all of them, whether it is the moral value based or the application based or the deduction based or in the projects also. I mean, all the schools, we are also assessing their projects. It is not that every child gets 20 upon 20 in a project. Well, there are grades. So here we are trying to do justice and learning. If you are the kind of child who learns only as much as the teacher teaches, or a little less than what the teacher is giving, or are you the one who's going beyond? Do you learn more than what the teacher teaches? That is more important. And these are the kind of children who will go beyond and excel. They will have an edge over the others. So no learning methodology or system is good or bad. No examination system is good or bad. It is how we implement, how we go about it, translating it. There we lack a little. So, and as there was the first child who had said about the uncertainty about examinations or no examinations, well, no matter what, you see, even now when we are assessing the marks or grades of the children of the present 10th and 12th, it is not just by fluke. It is considering all that has been done in the past. Similarly, for the 12th, the thought is there that yes, take into consideration a bit of 10th, a bit of 11th, and a bit of 12th. So how you have been in your journey of learning, it will matter. It is not that just because exams are there or not there, so on that last day you're going to get a score. It is not that. Your score will be assessed on your past. If your past has been good, definitely your future will be good also. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much. And lovely panelists and lovely these two boys who are conducting it. My congratulations to you. Keep up doing the good work. You have gone beyond your learning, surely. And it will pay you in good stead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for the encouraging words. For that matter, thank you to all the panelists. We have Swaransh from the team who will be winding up. But before that, so since ma'am commented us, and it's great. As much as I am flattered, as much as I really look up to ma'am, and all of the panelists here for that matter. It's a team effort, and it is due that we give credit to the team which has put this entire idea into reality, where we're finally having discussion on something with great panelists, something we've never even thought, from different places today, as ma'am said. Something that online environment again has made possible for us. So there's just surely some pros also for this online environment. We'll give it to Swaransh and the team.
It was truly a fruitful session. Thank you to all the members of the audience who were so patient throughout and added substance to the discussion. We are grateful to all the panelists who took out time from their busy schedules to join us. And yes, you all definitely busted myths and cleared many doubts of the batch of 2021 and yes, batch of 2022 as well. So we at My COVID Guide and Aspirant India Initiative look forward to hosting further sessions with all of you. Thank you so much, Nirmal ma'am, Tanuja ma'am, Alka ma'am, Nitin sir and Arindam sir. Thank you so much for being here.
May we leave now, Swaransh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Give us a minute, ma'am.